Hi, Hannah family. Welcome back. I do hope that all of you all are doing well. I've pulled together a really good assortment of stories for you today. So sit back, enjoy the show, and if you like what you hear, give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Story 1. After my grandma died. My grandmother died on Mother's Day. A few days before, she was at home with my grandfather and she wasn't feeling well. I didn't get the whole rundown of the situation, but apparently she had a really bad headache, and she called my grandfather. I think she must have passed out because an ambulance was called and she was transported to the local hospital. She never regained consciousness. The doctor said that she had a massive brain hemorrhage, and even if she'd been on the front steps of the hospital, there'd been nothing they could have done. My mom and her siblings gathered around and decided to remove her from life support. At this point, there was no brain activity. My grandmother lingered until all of her children were able to gather together and say their final goodbyes. She finally passed away on Mother's Day. There was only one person of the whole family that didn't get a chance to say goodbye. And that was me. My son was very young, and I had no sitter. Both my parents, as well as most of my closest relations, were unable to sit with him, so I never made it to the hospital to say my final goodbyes. Anyway, fast forward past the funeral stuff. Shortly after Grandma's passing, strange things started happening to me. The first incident happened when I was reading a book. A small lamp just clicked on for no reason, as if someone was telling me that I didn't have enough light to read by. After that, a small television that I had in my room would turn off and on. Usually this happened late at night, after midnight. The last time it happened, after I had just unplugged the TV from the wall. It flicked on and off a whole bunch of times, and then finally stayed on. The show that was currently playing? A local psychic show. I talked to my mom about it, and she said that because I didn't get a chance to go to the hospital before Grandmother passed, that she was probably just coming to me to see how I was doing and to make me feel a little better. Honestly, I felt like a total heel for not making more of an effort to see her. I finally sat down and had a short chat with my grandma, but I wasn't sure if she heard me or not. I said that I was really sorry that I didn't get a chance to see her before she passed, and that I missed her a whole lot. It must have worked because all the strange occurrences stopped after that. Story 2. Digging Ghosts. The land our house was built on used to belong to a big historic mansion. Our house was on farmland. In the downstairs of the house, there were 2 bedrooms, and when I was younger, I used to occupy the back bedroom. One night, I woke up, and right outside my window, I could hear digging in our backyard. There was the sound of someone plowing up the earth, the clomping, and the sound of wheels moving, like a wheelbarrow. When I told my mom the story the next morning, she thought I was joking or dreaming. There were 2 times when I heard the noise up close. One night, when I was still living downstairs, the noise started up again, and I stuck my head out of one of the windows, and there was nothing there. But I swear the activity was still happening right in front of me. I heard a wheelbarrow pass right under my window, and I felt something brush my face. When I was 16, I came home late one night from a party at a friend's house. I had nothing to drink, and being a night owl, I was wide awake. As I was coming from my car up the front door, to my right, where the front yard meets the back, this was where all of the activity was occurring. I could hear the digging and the sound of a wheelbarrow hauling something away. I don't know how to explain this noise, and I'm not scared of it anymore, because in the 10 years I've been hearing it, nothing has ever happened, and I've never physically seen what's going on. But every night, or almost every night, I hear the digging, and I hear the wheelbarrow hauling things away. I would love to know what they were digging. Story 3. The Old Church. I live in Nebraska, and there's this old church. It's a very holy place of worship, and definitely a spiritual influence in my town. Unfortunately, when the sun goes down, it becomes a very sinister place. The evil oozes out of the walls. How do I know this? It's a place that my friends and I would meet to pray. Let me say first off, I've always been a skeptic. I've always looked for the logical answers to the unexplained. This I can say, however, has no true explanation. One night, as we prayed in the old church, the furnace kicked on, at its usual time of 11:30 p.m. That night it was different. As it kicked on, my friends and I distinctly made out the sound of screams. I'd love to think it was the sound of pipes leaking steam or something, but it was two distinct screams. One was a woman, and the other was a child. They grew louder as the minutes passed. I stood up, no longer concentrating on my prayers, but rather feeling the dread that had just disturbed such a beautiful ritual. I looked in the balcony and saw something very faint. The light from the window cast down upon all the seats, except for one. In this seat was a figure that seemed to stop all light. It appeared to be a very dark, cloaked man, very tall. It sat motionless, but I knew it was watching us, and it didn't care for what we were doing. My friend Kevin continued his prayers, unswayed, but Nate and I stopped. He knew what I was watching, because he had seen it a few nights before. I would find out later that several other friends had seen this specter. Could it have been the father of the parish? I doubt it. I think he would have been a little bit more polite, and simply asked what we were doing. What was this thing? I wish I could say. All I know is I cannot go back to this church to pray. Does the congregation know of its evil visitor? They plan on building a new chapel and tearing this one down. What will happen to this specter? Again, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Bye.